Was the moon landing real or fake, Vivek?
Was the what, moon landing?
Real or fake?
I have no evidence to suggest it was fake, so I'm gonna assume it was real.
Okay, 9/11, inside job or exactly how the government tells us?
I don't believe the government has told us the truth. Again, I'm driven by evidence and data. What I've seen in the last several years is we have to be skeptical of what the government does tell us. I haven't seen evidence to the contrary, but do I believe everything the government told us about it? Absolutely not.
Last two
questions.
questions.
The 9/11 Commission? Absolutely not.
Now, why is this Republican presidential candidate floating 9/11 conspiracy theories right in the middle of their primary season? It might be because host Alex Stein here realizes that Vivek Ramaswamy has a history of bathing in them.
January 6th, we know that there was agent provocateurs. We know that there was a bunch of weird stuff going on. What's going to happen in your opinion?
I think they are going after him one way or another, like an immune system goes after a virus. They're just not stopping. Now, this indictment, like the prior ones, is politicized. It reeks of politicization because they're using novel legal theories. And here's my general rule of thumb in the United States of America. If you're going to go full third world, if you're going to go full banana republic on this and indict a political opponent in the middle of an election who's also a former U.S. president, it better darn well be a cut and dry legal case, not using some unprecedented legal theory. And yet this is an unprecedented legal theory for two reasons. One is there's a Supreme Court case called Alvarez in 2012 that expressly says a candidate for elected office can make statements that are false or inaccurate. Yet that's at the heart of what this indictment's all about.
This is the same straw man argument that this entire January 6th indictment laid out by Jack Smith is simply about Donald Trump's internal thoughts and opinions regarding the outcome of his failed re-election attempt. It's the same one that gets peddled on Fox News. It's hard to believe that Vivek actually believes it, considering the indictment clearly points out that it was what Trump did with his opinion that was repeatedly debunked to him by several officials and his advisors regarding the election. But just in case Trump is actually held accountable for his actions, Ramaswamy has some other crackpot declarations lined up to appeal to MAGA.
There are good people in this race who will tell you this is the time for reform. We need to work within the institutions we have. We should incrementally reform them for the better. But that's a false promise. They don't know it's a false promise, but when those institutions, when that government, when that deep state has become so rotten, we can no longer just fix it from the top. This is not a moment for reform. I don't stand for reform. I stand for revolution. The finish line is January of 2033. When I leave office, when I will tell you that once again in the United States of America, we have three branches of government, not four. We shut down the deep state and the administrative state.
Seems like an easy task. Just declare the deep state shutdown as soon as you're in power, while claiming your fellow conspiracy theorists only wanted to give it a makeover. But since that endgame involves the long shot of him actually winning the presidency in a party that hates his ass...
Why would you have a guy that's a Hindu on and compared to Christianity? And I think this is before we go any further, I need to hear from you. Are you against Christianity?
He's got to push the line that it was the age-old systemic biases of the country against violent white Christian MAGA Republicans that forced a bunch of Trump foot soldiers to attack. Not their openly stated goals to overturn the election. It's not that at all.
Donald Trump was not responsible for what happened on January 6th. You want to know what was responsible? Systematic, pervasive censorship in this country. And if you repeatedly then tell people they cannot speak, that is when they scream. If you repeatedly tell people they cannot scream, that is when they tear things down. It is wrong for our country, and I call on President Biden to do the right thing and drop these politicized charges.
And while he's grasping at any and everything to appeal to the worst people in the country, Ramaswamy also decided to revisit the Tennessee school shooter in a desperate attempt to tap back into trans hate.
I'm here today to make a demand of the governor of Tennessee. Release the manifesto. Speak the truth. The hard times are the times where we must most openly speak that truth. It is hardest to speak the truth under difficult circumstances, but that is when we require it the most. But what we do need to know is this killer's motives, this killer's psychological state of mind. The truth of the matter is that we have a mental health epidemic in this country that is driving a wave of violence around this country.
This anti-LGBTQ plus hate is only the dessert. But the main point is to cut off efforts to actually do something about our gun epidemic, something he thinks will get gun-toting Republicans on his side and even more Americans killed.
The same governor who pledged to release that manifesto, only to renege on that pledge, not to have released it, now hiding it to date, is convening a special session of the legislature of Tennessee later this month on August 21st to call for specific legal anti-gun measures to be passed and signed into law in this state. The right answer may well be to remove psychiatrically ill people from their communities than it is to remove guns from law-abiding citizens. The right answer may well be to put armed security guards in schools, both public schools and private schools, to protect our children and prevent this tragedy.
This is truly wild. Just trying to throw anything against the wall to see if it sticks. The desperation to get any kind of foothold in this primary is real with Vivek.
We live in a moment where our government assumes that we cannot handle the truth, that we can't handle the truth about COVID-19, that we can't handle the truth about the COVID vaccines, that we can't handle the truth about Ukraine, that we can't handle the truth about government censorship. Today, that same government assumes that we can't handle the truth about what happened here on March 27th.